Where do I start from this week? Before I can get into anything, this proud episode is sponsored by none other than Royal Treat Box. Now, if you don't know what Royal Treat Box is, for all of us who have a sweet tooth, guess you what? They got you every type of pastry that you can think of. If you want muffins in different flavors, different everything, just hit up Royal Treat Box. They have an Instagram page. Hit them up, and I'll be showing you as the weeks go on, because they are a proud sponsor, what they actually do. And she did something for my kids' birthdays. So yes, that is that. Other than that, welcome to these my random thoughts. Yeah, I wanted to start this particular episode by bigging up Vinka. Now, I know most of you saw the video of her up Yabadoa, Sudan, South Somalia. Where was she? So the video makes its way on social media and everybody had reactions about it. I was like, yes, sir. You better. We are in a bloody pandemic. Keep your hands to yourself. But what killed it for me is how she first kicked him. Then after kicking him, she's like, nah, fam, you didn't get enough. Now come on, is it kick? Was his son? Enter the dragon. And she did enter the dragon. Are those Van Damme flying roundhouse kicks? Damn, sis. I was like, you go, girl. And this goes to every male idiot who shows up at a concert and you cannot understand that as much as they look sexy up there, they don't want you groping at them. They don't. She's a nakawere. What were you? You deserved it. I wish his teeth fell out. You know how dope it would be to show up in public and you'd have missing teeth and they ask you what happened? Well, I tried touching a female artist on stage. Yeah, yo. So a lot did go down in these past 2 weeks. I hope I can actually embody all of it, but I'm going to try. Let us start off with something that actually caught my attention. Ibra, did you see the new sex laws? You did see them. And these sex laws are not new per se, but I think this is finally, they've been passed. And what caught us off guard were the terms that were used. I think we need to find someone to write all these communications as oluzungu. To funo because there was one of them that actually said simple defilement, and we all went up like, wait, what? You don't use the word simple and defilement in the same statement. And then they had to explain to me that if the person is above, I think, a certain age, it is considered simple defilement. How? Who made these laws? Like, who suggests that it is simple defilement, or that it is simple rape? Simple? Someone tell me, is there something simple about defilement? Just the word defilement makes all of us shudder. So why would you put something simple on it? Anywho, those came out, and of course the males in the country were like, Jesus is the Lord. Let me read them for you. You know, I don't like to just talk about things and you guys don't see them. Let me read them for you. And this is how they actually came out. Ooh, child, it's about to get interesting in this here country. Everything is going to the dogs, but we are keeping up, son. So they go, the offense, rape and incest, you get life imprisonment for rape and incest. Attempted rape, you get an 8-year jail term. Aggravated rape is death. Indecent assault, that is 14-year imprisonment with or without corporal punishment. What is indecent assault? Huh? Is that like what the guy who was trying to touch Vinka did? Like, is that the way these guys could see us in Owino? Or when you go to the Zai Plaza and everyone is like, sis. Okay, there's that. And then there's sexual harassment, sexual exploitation of detainees, that is a 10-year imprisonment or a 40 million fine. Unnatural offenses. Now, of course, everybody was like, unnatural what? Now, in case you didn't know, dear people, it is illegal to be the LGBT community in this here country. It is against the law to be gay. Do I have to spell that out? Are we all on the same page? So that is actually classed in under unnatural offenses. And then there's simple defilement, which is life imprisonment, aggravated defilement, which is death, prostitution, penalty as a penal code act will be given, and sexual assault, that goes unlawful touches, get this, Please keep the kids out of the room if you're watching right now. These are the sexual assault, unlawful touches to the anus, penis, buttocks, thighs, and your vajayjay. Or you can get 1 year or 480K if someone touches them. My question is, 480K? And someone touches your bam bam. So basically, someone can touch any bam bam they want to touch for 480K. Am I reading it right, or it's me who doesn't know my laws? Anywho, but anyway, the males in the country were also like, they were taken aback. They're like, okay, all these things are there and we see them, but they kind of look like they are in favor of the women. Now, of course, the feminists are going to come out and they're like, no, it's not even like that, but it's like that, but then it's not like that. And then, of course, the male chauvinists are also going to come in and say, nah, nah, nah. My thing is, I'm not going to talk about this whole gender situation and who feels it's unfair or unlawful. At the end of the day, we have laws. I have a couple of them in there that I am uncomfortable with because I believe it shouldn't be against the law for somebody to be who they want to be. Case in point, a gay person, if they want to be a gay person, 6 feet under these people go on their own. Those are their life choices. Those are their decisions. I do understand it is considered taboo in Africa. I do understand it is against our culture. But then I also do understand that it's the 21st freaking century. Why are we even putting arms? It's going to happen eventually. Man, this damn country. Anyway, let's move away from that. So, the highlight of these 2 weeks was the swearing in. The inauguration of our president, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Tibahaburwa Museveni, yes, for the 6th time. Let that sink in, fellas. For the 6th time, they saw him in. Now, of course, we know that there was a lot of drama going to happen about it, but we didn't know to what extent. Like that whole week had so much security personnel popping up everywhere. There were crazy arrests. Police was doing the mostest by telling us we are trying to curb these people who have plans of the swearing in ceremony not going down. I'm like, who are these people? Who are these people and what do they want out of life? Because that is sure death. That is sure death. If we can go by anything like what happened in November, why would you even want to say that a president is not going to swear in a country like Uganda? Girl, please. Anywho, they come out, they tell us all these things. We started praying that, you know, nothing happens or something that happens, something like that. So swearing in happens. There are different dignitaries supposed to come in, but before the dignitaries came in, we all saw the drama that went down with that. They spent 7 billion, as they had said, for just 1 day of inauguration. And we're like, what? 7 what? Billion, like B for bread. Anywho, 17 billion is spent like that, Weshri. But then, as the public, we're sitting back and we're like, where did all the 7 billion go? Because one, you all saw the photographs at that inauguration. Oh, butebe Ibrawa Bulaba. Obo bwebutebe bwe bakozesa ku zi wedding meeting ze Kampala nga wagenze wali ku Centenary Park ogenda no ordering yo butebe 10 1000 seats is for how much Sam? Buli katebe bakakuwa ku 3 bitano buli katebe ka bitano ng'okali oli karentinga. So those are the butebe they brought, and what killed me is to see all these dignitaries really seated in them and trying to make the most of it. Like, you also the American ambassador, she was like still talking about the 7 billion. So they buy all these things, then it goes down. There were dignitaries supposed to come in. I think there were 45 presidents supposed to come in. In the long run, I think we had like 9. But when you look at the people that actually showed up, for a person who is politically inclined, you would actually see why they had to show up. Because they have interests, you know, they have interests. So swearing in does come down. On the day of swearing in, Ugandans take to social media to pray on the weather. Yes, the weather. I was one of them people that actually prayed for the weather. And then somebody asked me, Tina, how stupid are Ugandans? Of all the things, Frank Kasumba also did the same thing. He took to Facebook and he's like, Ugandans, you failed to do the most. And now you're praying for the weather. What is the weather going to do? Well, the weather wasn't going to do much. It was just kind of like us saying, God, why? Oh, God, when? Right? That's what we were doing. Well, the weather, they had who? Balam Munyoro. I'm a Munyoro. Manyeja Tuva. Balam done did his thing. Balam done made it. Oh, it was sunny the whole day. Yet previous days it was floods. I was like, the gods have even chosen a side. But hey! So inauguration day goes by. Now, during this inauguration is when we come to know that Museveni and his people and the team, NRM, if I should dare say, or the state, had actually not just invited presidents from different countries to see the swearing-in ceremony, but apparently Akon and his group of investors were coming too. I'm like, Akon and who? They're doing what? Next thing we know, the investors they're telling us about are the entire cast of Real Housewives of Atlanta. I'm like, did anybody tell Muzei that these are just socialites in America who are barely even there? They're famous, but not that famous. They're rich, but not that rich. They don't move and shake. They are not the type who is come on, Sheree from Real Housewives of Atlanta is in the country. She is here. Yes, she's here. Someone tell me. I know she's richer than I am. I know she make her coin. I know she make her paper. She could be a good person and all those things. I do like her from the show. But do you people see Sheree, who took forever just to build Chateau Sheree, to come and invest in Uganda? Never know Mutu Jose. And I want to have a word. Akon, I think Akon has not yet understood that Uganda and Africa is already in on your corn. So he comes back with these people and he's saying, oh yeah, we have come to invest. Invest what, Akon? Invest what? Akon, come on. The GDP of Senegal compared to how much it is going to cost you to build that city in Senegal, they don't correlate. And then when you say you're going to do the same thing in Uganda, I'm like, does this guy think we're stupid? But anyway, the president of this here nation took the time out yesterday and he actually tweeted with a photograph of them and he's like, today I met investors. I'm like, team of investors? Which investors? Simon is in hot soup right now because he and Portia got a thing going out. And nobody saw it coming. Portia was supposed to come too, but she decided to stay back. I think she wanted to celebrate Pilo's birthday. I'm sitting there and I'm like, wow. We could have asked for Aliko Dangote. We could have asked for all these movers and shakers. We could have asked for a Nobel Peace Prize winner or nominee. We could have asked for anybody. But Akon and the team in State House felt that their best bet at bringing trading investments into the country and investors was to bring us the cast of Real Housewives of ATL. What even pissed me off more, when they give you the list of the people coming, they're like, oh yeah, and Akon's PR team is also here, and they're all on our money because I know, Ibra, do you think these guys came for free? That they came to invest? They paid them? How much? Now, this is what triggered me. What triggered me the most is Sheree is in the country. So she takes to her Instagram page and she's posting photographs. And the very first photograph she posts up on her gram, she's saying, out here in Africa, child, Africa ain't a country. It's a continent. Now, this here country that you came to does have a name. Say our name. Put some respect on it. Stop using this whole East Africa, hashtag East Africa, hashtag Africa. No, it is called Uganda. Sheree, Uganda. It's where you are. I happen to be from this here country. That is some disrespectful shit. First of all, you were all paid influencers. Don't even begin this bull crap of the president lying to us on social media openly and telling us a team of investors. Which investors? Why did you pay them to show up? To do what? Okay, what is Sheree going to do for us? What? She's going to start another what? Philanthropic movement? She's going to do what? What is Simon going to do? Now, Simon, at least he got some money. But looking at the choices he makes in picking wives, I know for a fact his investment in my country will be... it will be funny because one thing we do have down here in Africa, we got girls with booty that times. If he come here for more than a month, we'll get him a girl. He'll dump Portia's ass and he won't do anything. Come on, we have seen all this stuff. We have seen it. Anyway, I just wanted to tell all these trader investors who came in and are on the state fund, which is part of our money, not just part, entirely our money, because we did not see your relevance. What is their relevance to us? Me, Omuntu Wawansi. Okay, what is the relevance of Akon and his people to Mama Nachimbugwe Atunde Nyanya Wali Kukona? You've brought investors. They're going to do what? Change her life so drastically? What? What are they going to do? Teach her how to be a real housewife of Atlanta, even if she's not actually a housewife? I don't get it. I don't. I just don't. I really, really don't. We could have gotten anybody, and just still out here bringing us the scum of the earth. Excuse me for using that term, but in my words, right now, I feel like that's the best term I can use, because they ain't gonna do nothing. They're not nothing. The people in Senegal are still waiting for Akon to finish up the buildings. He only laid the foundation stone, and then he's out here at the inauguration of a president who's been here for 6 terms, 35 years, and they're still spinning the same whole lie that they finna invest. We're still trying to figure out Emio Gabadia. We're trying to figure that one out. We are still trying to understand how Bonaba Gagawale really didn't leave any of us to Gagawade. There's some bullcrap. I just want to know. And what's even more interesting is like, when they came into the country that they say they want to invest in, at least Akon mwamula bayagenda naliako kuzirolexi. He did his thing, right? He did. Oh, these ones have been holed up in the fancy hotel suites, chilling with the first daughters and taking photos for the gram. So what is your significance? Why did you come? Show it to us so that we can shut up. I want to shut up. Show me this is the plan. This is the execution. This is when it commences. That's all. Because right now, as a citizen, I just paid your bills. Now I know Sheree keeps saying, who gonna check me? Well, an entire nation is checking you, boo. It's still COVID, but these guys broke their own SOPs. 4,000 guests attended the inauguration. So let me ask, in that same light, if you can have 4,000 people attend a swearing-in ceremony, someone explain to me why the artists are not yet working again. Oh yeah, I know why, because the artists just don't have balls about them to ask for what they want. But then again, it doesn't add up. It doesn't. It doesn't. At all. But I waited to see the jubilation. The ululations. Are they ululations or ululations? One of them. I waited to see people take to the social media and go like, my president. Y'all saw what they did when Biden was sworn in? After the whole Trump fracas, everybody was celebrating. You could tell that an entire nation was actually happy they have a new president. In my country, it was more like click next, swipe left, click next, swipe left. We kept swiping left. Nobody actually cared. I was visiting the media center's Twitter on inauguration day, and it only had like about 300 likes. After like 5 hours, I'm like, where are these Ugandans that voted? Not that I'm trying to insinuate anything, but damn. They be letting a brother down. I didn't see the jubilation, I'm sorry. There was no jubilation for me. Anyway, someone asked me, Soti, if you're talking about Bobby Wine, no, if you're talking about the swearing in, then we're going to have to talk about Bobby Wine. I didn't want to pull a trick like this, but Canary Mugume tweeted something that actually bothered me. And it's not just Canary Mugume. I always refer to him because apparently Uganda chose him as your best investigative journalist. So every time he says something, I'm thinking, look, right? So Canary tweeted something and he said, so the other party claims that the election was stolen, it was fraudulent, he is not the rightful president, but will still let their members of parliament swear in like we've seen them doing for the past couple of days under a government that they do not side with. I sat there and I'm like, go figure. Just when you think we have smart people at the helm, then they just show us they're not that smart. First of all, I want to ask, aren't we in a multi-party system as a nation? We are. If we're in a multi-party system as a nation, we have to understand that at times, different parties are going to be representatives of different people at different entities and levels. 2, aren't the MPs voted by the people as their representatives? Yes. So explain to me, if Bobby Wine feels like Yeta Kidizambu president, and all of that, okay, we hear him, that's his stance. A couple of his MPs also came out and they're like, Tetuja kulaira, nga. And they still kulairad. Let me tell you why they kulairad. Because they understand that their allegiance is not to a person. They understand that their allegiance is to the people, because the people are the ones who voted him into parliament and they are supposed to represent. So when Canary said something like that, I was like, damn, this boy kept looking stupider and stupider and stupider every day. What is this? What did we do to deserve this mediocrity? And then there's another thing I want to talk about journalists in general in Uganda. This goes to Samson Kasumba, this goes to the Canary Mugumes, all the journalists who have been so vocal. Now, one, growing up, because I really wanted to be a journalist, I tried to find out the different terms, the rules, the ethics of being an on-air journalist. One, Samson Kasumba is a newsreader. That's it. That's it. He's just a guy who they'll put a teleprompter up and they tell him read them lines. There's an entire team behind him. There's an editor. There's somebody who is going to get the stories from wherever they're getting them from. And then there's a guy who's going to sit the floor. That's the floor producer, right? Who's going to put them together. And then they're going to put all the emotions. And no, actually, they're going to put everything that they want to portray as the media company in the words that he has to say. So the teleprompter goes up. That is what he is. It does not significantly make him an outright journalist. He is a news anchor, period. Now let's go to Canary. Canary says he's a journalist. He is a journalist, innit? In Uganda, I think we're using the term very loosely. We are using this term very loosely, and I think we need to think about it. Because growing up, I always knew a journalist or a news anchor or a news reader, in our African terms, does not have to show a side, does not have to be partisan. I grew up knowing that when you're an on-air journalist, your job is to give the masses the news as it comes and let the masses decide what they want to use the news with. Now I know, as the times have kept on changing, we've seen networks like CNN give Governor Cuomo a minute to actually speak his mind. We've seen people like Fox have Trevor Noah's viral rant where he can say where he wants. We've had different entities trying to revolutionize the way they give news to the people. But then again, I don't think we are there yet as a democracy for you to actually show that you're partisan. Because then you're spreading the wrong message here. If I already know you have a side, I'm going to be inclined to go with your side, because guess what? You're the one giving me the news, right? So if it's coming from you, then it means it's the truth. So I'm going to definitely side with you. In a nutshell, what you're doing is you're actually influencing people's thoughts and ideologies in regards to what you're reporting to them. And that is what Samson Kasumba does. And I didn't want to speak on it. You know, he has way too much time coming on Twitter to jump on anything and everything. And then he also has the audacity to always show us that he is partisan. You are entitled to those. You are. In all honesty, when you're off air, you are entitled to having an opinion as a person. But I also need for you to understand that when these people online read what you are posting up, they do not differentiate that this is Canary Mugume or Samson Kasumba of Twitter. They just know this is Canary and Samson, who are actually news anchors at a TV station. So if they're saying it here, then it must be the truth. They're always going to look at you as the beacon of truth. They're going to always look at you as the person who gives them the news. So whatever you decide to put up, understand that we're going to be inclined to either listen because of your influence. And that influence is a lot. So what bothers me and bugs me a lot is that you forgot the assignment. Your assignment is not to be partisan. Your assignment is not to pick a side. Your assignment is not to morally begin pitting sides against each other, because that's what Canary did. That's what he did. Let me read for you the tweet, because y'all think I'm coming from a weird place, right? Here goes on his tweets. My bad, where is it at? Here goes, so the other group doesn't recognize the sitting government whose leader was sworn in last week, but still sends their MPs to swear in and debate policy that will be implemented by the same government. Bachikola Batia. Yes, it seems like an innocent tweet. It seems like an innocent, opinionated tweet. But if you ask me, there could have been a better way to put it and not be partisan. There's satire in that tweet that if you read between the lines, we can all hear what you're saying very loudly. Very, very loudly. So my thing is, Ugandan journalists, the reason why we can never rally behind you, Baba Kuba, when your colleagues and counterparts are beaten up, shot, some have died, the reason we can't rally behind you is because you keep showing us you have a side. Now, I don't care which side it is, whether it's blue, black, yellow, red, green, who cares? We just don't want to know you have a side. That's the profession you chose. You have to understand that there's certain things that are not going to go with it, regardless of you having an opinion. You chose that profession. You did. So can we all just humble down? Ugandan on-air anchors. And have you noticed the real people who go and get the stories, right? The reporters who actually get these stories, who know how the story was given birth to, who know the perils of how they got it, they never have an opinion. Have you noticed that, Ibra? When you go to a newsroom, someone whose job is to bring you stories is going to bring them with the same enthusiasm that they have because that's what they do. But they will not really have an opinion. But then when they give what their findings are to the news anchor will relay them, run the story, and that's it. And then for some reason, we feel it's the news anchor who deserves to have an opinion. No. No. Your job is to come and read the news. That's just it. Get all these investigative reporters who actually go get these stories and compile them and let them have a conversation about it. You are just news anchors. I think it's a very hard conversation, but we need to have it. Dear opposition members and proposition members and Ugandans at large, let me give a poem. I need for you to understand that your governance is not dependent on a particular person. Your governance is dependent on what you, the people, want and need. And your constitution states that. Pick it up, read it. Are we there? Because people are throwing so much shade at NUP parliamentarians for showing up in parliament and taking oath and sitting and forgetting that we actually wanted these people in. We voted for them in. But what is now angering other people, especially abantu abatali mu NUP, kanchogerenga bwechiri. We're wondering, so nebano aba NUP bagenda yingiram, they're also going to pass legislation like these other ones. And they did. They have. Tebabagambye bagenda bawereza 200 million for car allowances. They did not object it. How should they? How could they? Are you crazy? Do you know how much this campaign season cost them to reject 200 million apiece, each parliamentarian? Well, they ain't going to reject it. They can't. And they won't. So it's about time we had a conversation as the people of Uganda. Not as the people of NUP, as the people of NRM, no. As the people of Uganda. We need to have a conversation because it's the people that we're sending into these places of power that are actually falling us short. Because I expected, given what the country is going through, 17 trillion was registered as a government law. 17 trillion. But we out here giving 200 million to each parliamentarian for a car allowance. We're out here, we're renting out tents worth 28 million a day. We are out here, again, Parliament has decided, or they might decide in a few weeks to come, that the state shall actually pay for their parents' medical bills. So basically, you buy these people cars, you pay for their accommodation, you pay their children's fees, they are not taxed, and you're also going to help pay for their parents' medical bills. Ngagwe, omuna Uganda, nkutera wo sente mbubona agende mulago leero, ojafune eddagala. Clearly see, the disconnect is not in the system. The system is used to it. The system understands that y'all ain't gonna do shit about it. You let the system be like this, Uganda. No one else. Kubakati oloza but Joel Senyonyi and counterparts are going to send no to money. How? They need that money. But you sent them in. So if you want anything out of them, then you hold each and every one of your representatives accountable. they have given 200 million for a car. Go to your member of parliament and call him out as a constituency and tell him, so we know you're getting 200 million. We just wanted you to know that our Center for does not have medicine. Our roads from Buyuga to here are not good, so now to work with Sente. Nechidala akasomero ka UPE katulina wano tekaina ntebe tekaina madinisa abana babona abona twagala okadabirizeeko on that 200 million, because you know what, that is money that you have given, and if you don't ask for them to actually help you, they won't. They will keep taking and taking and taking. It's about time we approach this shit. We approach this shit in a regular, normal way, practically. Mukubiraba MP bamwe mbagambe tumanyi mugenda funa za allowances emmotoka 200 million somehow. What car can we get that is 20 million? 20 million car is okay for a parliamentarian, don't you think? Okay, no, 20 to motade once in you. 50 you can get a 0 mileage, can't you? Ochitagera tusobola. So ku 200 million, you don't need a 200 million car, dear MP. Your constituents are suffering. Go buy a cheaper car, because that cheaper car is still going to get you from point A to point B. Let us start showing some empathy for the people that we're governing. And for you, the people, also you start demanding these guys outrightly come out and be a part of your communities, because I was so angered. There's an MP who was voted in somewhere in the West. She threw her celebratory party in a hotel in Kampala. Federo. Ibra, do you know what Federo is? Tojimani. Does anyone know what Federo is? Antize njogera mu Uganda kuba we mugitegera. Federo. Okay. Federal governance. Now before you all get your knickers twisted, I need to get my phone so that I can Ibra, stop laughing. Because you know they're going to come at me. They're going to come at me. So I did put up a couple of things that I think we need to know about federalism. Now, federalism is a system. It's a type of governance. Right now, what we have in Uganda is a decentralized governing system. But at the beginning, Uganda was actually a federal state. How? Before your 1900 agreement, when the colonial master was still here, we were actually under a federal state. Now, I need to read this. Let me read this for you. What is a federal system of governance? You'll forgive me, I had to write this down. Well, the easiest way to understand and to explain the federal system of governance is to set out the most commonly asked questions. So, what is the federal system governance? Federalism is a national system of governance in a country with one central government for the entire country and several regional governments. So what is federalism in a nutshell, if I were to break it down for you? Yes, in a federal system, you will still have a head of state. You will still have a central governing system. But what happens with the federal system is that as much as you have the centralized governing state, you will still have several other regions also have their own governing situation. That's the best way I can explain it to you right now, because I know most of you are going to get it twisted. So when we move on, I wanted for people to understand it in my own terms, because when I try to use it in Oluzungu Olunji, we may get lost. Look at Kenya. Kenya went through some very many different horrific things, and before we knew it, they actually scraped their old constitution and they put up a new constitution. And what happens, they are under a federalism situation there. So what happens is there's Uhuru Kenyatta and there's all his other subordinates. Then there's regional governance. Basically what this means is, in a federal system, as much as you will have a ruler at the top, at the helm, you actually get to make the biggest decisions in the regional setting. So whatever the regionals come up with is what the governing system will go up with. And if the government system at the top needs something from the governing system at the bottom, it has to be an agreement. So what they actually do in a federalism state is not consolidate power in one place. Right now in a decentralized state, as you can see, it is the president who calls on everything in this country. It doesn't matter what it is. He is the final man. He is the final say. In a federalist state, it would be different. As much as he would have what he wants at the top, he would have to consult the bottom, which are your local chairman, your members of parliament, your different representatives. Only that these representatives will be coming from your regions directly. Are we savvy? Are we clear? So basically, let me put it like this. Most people in Uganda actually thought that when Baganda would ask for federal, they were asking for the king to actually be the president. No, that is a monarchy system. In a federal system, yes, Buganda will be a region of its own. Hoima would be a region of its own, and they would have one centralized government that would actually consolidate everything. So basically, if say Buganda had its own taxing situation, it is in charge of giving its own grants, it's in charge of building its own cities, that is what they would do. The central government would help them by sending money to them, and they decide how they use that money. Now, when it comes to taxes and revenues of collectability, that is where someone was like, it doesn't add up, Tina. It sounds like a good plan, but now imagine if there are places like Mbarara and places like Karamoja, they cannot have the same taxes, they cannot have the same growth. Well, with the federal system, guess you what? What happens is that if all of these entities make way too much, the central government can actually come in and say, okay, from your miscellaneous that you have built, we're going to get this, consolidate it with this other guy's this, and then we shall take it to Karamoja and also develop Karamoja. In a nutshell, we are going to be able to grow different regions on a community-based situationship. I don't know if you get me, so think of it this way. In a federal state, you have your local chairman, your LC1, right? Your LC1 is the person that you would actually look at in your region as like kind of like your mini president. Now, your LC chairman will also have someone he reports to. And that person he reports to will have to have a representative in parliament. So basically, you can even cut that whole chain because federalism has different types of federalism. I can read them for you. I have a couple of them. There's dual federalism, there's cooperative federalism, there's marble cake federalism, and there's competitive federalism. There are different ways that you can actually incorporate this system in your countries. Now, another question that somebody asked about the federal system, they're like, T, we get that. Well, my thing with federal, why I think Uganda needs to start having that conversation is that I feel like having a decentralized government has actually left us lagging behind and we only point our fingers to one entity. Now, remember the conversation about accountability that I have been having? With a federal system, you actually have somebody that you can hold accountable directly at the grassroots. Not these things of having a member of parliament who only comes to his constituency when he's looking for votes. No. Because this is your local chairman. When you go to your local chairman as the group and the individuals under that region and tell him, our schools are not good, our roads are not good, this is not happening well, he finna go and represent that to the person that is next to him. So you have someone you can hold accountable directly without these things of Simanya, the DPP, the CCO, the no. He is your go-to at a village level. So before you know it, all these different entities, all these different regions will have their own tiny sovereignty. They will be able to cater to the simple things that the government at the top cannot. Let me give you a case in point. When you take when you take a drive through my country, of course I'm going to use the obvious one. Ibra, you have been to Mbarara side. You have, eh? Okay. If you go to Mbarara side, the situation and the outlook there is different. When you drive up north, the situation in Gulu is different. When you drive up to Karamoja, the situation in Karamoja is different. When you drive up to Busoga, Bugisu, the eastern parts are also different. Now, with federal, I know someone will be like, but these guys are already up. How are we going to? With federal, it's different. You have somebody who is definitely the government, the central top of the government, is actually going to be able to send grants to all these regions in order for them to cater to the needs of the people directly. So we don't need to sit and wait for the president to say, I think abantu bebududa tubajeyo. No, in a federal state, it will be the regional head who is your LC chairman who will be directly in charge of that. Now, why I like federalism is one, federalism is the only one thing that can actually accentuate our different cultures, tribes. You know, I feel like federalism keeps them together, keeps them grounded, keeps all of their what are they called, socio-economical problems, all of that will stay in that one little cocoon, that region, and they will work towards a betterment. Now imagine if you had like 10 different mushrooming towns, and each one of them under the federal state has its own money, can finance its own hospitals, can finance its own schools, and the central government has no say in it per se. So basically you're getting too much power and breaking it up into tiny bits. That is what federal is. Federal is not about Uganda. Why we associate federal to Uganda is because at the beginning, here's the fun story. I also didn't know this is like basic. So at the beginning, we were a federal state. Uganda was a region, Bugisu was a region, all of these places were regions, and each region catered to its own. Now the colonial master found it easier to deal with entities and groups in their habitat. It made it easier to consolidate what they need, how they get about things, so they kept it like that. Until fast forward when we got to our independence. Now when we got to our independence, they took away the federal governing system. And that is when we got a prime minister. Now, when we got a prime minister, you all remember the prime minister, before we had a president, it was a prime minister. That was His Royal Highness, the King of Uganda. Now, what happens as he was taking that oath on and he was taking that office, he had personal issues. I call them personal because when I read through, Obote's issue was just him knowing that the Uganda king actually he thought that the Uganda king had much more power. So he was like, nah, I'm scraping this. So they fell out. Now you all know how that story went. As soon as they put the king off the throne, then we moved into what we are doing now. You know, we became a sovereign nation, we became an independent nation, and then they set up this whole situation down to your constitution. Now, when they set up your constitution, they never, ever, ever brought up federalism again. So it's not that federalism was a Buganda thing, it just happened that at that time, when the colonial masters were here, they had given power power to different entities. And it so happened that because they were directly under the protectorate of the British king or the queen then, it was directly okay to make Kabaka the prime minister, which Obote felt wasn't a good situation. So he scraped it, changed your entire, put up a new constitution, and in the constitution they made sure that we don't have federalism in it. Did you get the science behind it, Ibra? Did you understand it? So in comes the 1900 agreements, all the land that they took. There's a lot to understand about our history, because our history is very interesting. Now, someone is going to be like, but if it worked then, do you think it would work now? Let me tell you how good it worked then. Uganda was actually making a lot more money internally then, and the peace and stability was actually quite prevalent until we got a constitution. Did you know that in between the years 1945 and 1967, Uganda marked its fastest level of development in the Ugandan society, during which we saw a very rapid economic transformation? Now let me tell you how. Most of the schools, hospitals, all these entities that you see and make noise about, and you're like, those were actually all brought about during the federal governance. That was us at our peak. Actually, we were such at our peak that is the same time we were sending aid to countries like Malaysia, Saudi Arabia. That was our peak during the federal era in Uganda. So let's keep it moving. I love to give you all these. So what happened to the federal system of government in Uganda? In 1966, the Kabaka's palace was raided. That is what I was trying to tell you. That is where everything starts from. And the Kabaka was forced into exile. That is 1966. Uganda's federal system was literally abolished in contravention of the pre-agreed 1962 constitution. Are we together? So this was done without any consultation or consent of the people of Uganda. Now, in 1967, a new constitution was put in place that abolished federal arrangements. Again, that was Obote doing his thing. So you understand. Someone was asking, was it removed because it didn't work? Quite on the contrary. It actually worked. It worked so well. But like we said, Obote had his issues with the Kabaka. He had his own power struggles that he wanted to see through. So why am I bringing up this federal conversation? I know I may not have broken it down well enough for you to understand, but I need for Ugandans to understand that I think our problem is not who is governing us. I think our problem is what system of governance we are using. Because in this system of governance, one, you can't hold nobody accountable regardless of the fact that your constitution states that every entity and every office shall be answerable to the people. Regardless of that, we won't get accountability. Regardless of all these things, we're going to still see human rights being taken away, this being that, the parliament is sitting for this. There is so much power consolidated in one place, and that is why you keep hearing the Ugandans say, Omuntu wa wansi, which will be different if you go to a country like Kenya, because in Kenya, even Omuntu wa wansi, aina representative amulio kumpi, so that representative is going to be forced to make sure that Omuntu wa wansi aina somero mu region here, Omuntu wa wansi aina, and if you look at all these schools, Zemba Denjo Gerako, Ezozo Na, Mulago, the Center Force and all of that, look at them, get them up. All of these different entities, hospitals, schools, all these big buildings, they were actually cut out in federal regions. That is how it worked. When you'd go to Uganda, there was a school there, there was a big hospital there, which is central here, right? When you'd go to Hoima, there was Kabalega Boys, there was all these fancy, the fancy big hospital. When you go to Bugisuland, there was something there. There are all those old schools and old things. They were actually built in a federal way that each little region could have enough of what they need. But now we have to go to the central government to just simply ask if we can have a road. And it doesn't make it any easier that the government has managed to branch out and make so many districts. We were 56? I don't even know how many districts we have right now. So imagine if you have to cater over to over 300 districts. Not all of them are going to get the same priority, but under a federal governance, every place is going to be a priority because the funds are going to be within the region. The taxes are going to be collected and used within that region. So every region will have a chance to grow. So when it comes to governance at the central point, it will only refer to us in terms of national security, trade and exports, taxation on their end, but they will have less things to deal with because we shall be able to delegate them to the regions, which clearly states that Omuntu wa wansi will get catered to. People, stop this whole, I understand that. There was a narrative. They made every Ugandan not believe in federal because they made it look like it's a Buganda thing. It's not a Buganda thing, people. Pick up your phones, read. It's a system of governance. If you look at America, it's under a federal system. If you look at Brazil, it's under a federal system. If you look at India, it's under a federal system. If you look at Kenya, federal system. Ethiopia, federal system. And it doesn't matter how big or small the country is. The thing about a federal system is that you can actually make it work regardless of your population or your size. It is just simply understanding that the people need more out of the governance. So that's why I'm like, let's have this damn conversation. You want to tell me we have a constitution? In the constitution, they have a whole clause about human rights and the whole Human Rights Committee. We had abductions starting from November to this day. We have prisoners who have not been duly processed and they're still asking, what is my crime, right? We have people in Kitalia who are actually now, I would like to call them political prisoners, right? We have so many human rights being messed about with. But the Plenary Human Rights Commission of Uganda just took the time out to say, we are going to arrest Brian White. Where your ass been at when these people are dying? Where has this Human Rights Commission been when people are getting abducted? Where has the parliament been? Because that shit confused me the first time the minister came and is like, we do not know about anyone who has abducted. It took the parliament like about a month to actually call for that hearing where they could talk about the abducted abducted and kidnapped people in prisons or who are being held or who are missing. A full month. So you tell me. Clearly, the government is not happy with the constitution as it stands. That is why they keep amending it. That is why they keep turning things about it. It shows that they are not happy with it. And then also us, the people, clearly, we are not happy with it either. So how about we do a win-win? Scrape it off, you know, scrape it off, bring a new one, and under this new one, can we please emphasize that we want federal governance? Oh, trust me, Uganda, if you ask for that, you will never, never cry. You will stop going to social media and saying, God, when? If you actually chose that. Me, that's my idea. Everybody seems to be very, very unhappy with the constitution. We're changing everything about it. Everything, especially with the governance of the president, from the president down to those are the ones they keep changing. Like the human rights of this, or the taxation policies, or this, or that. No one says anything. They don't want to amend them. And yet there's some that actually really do need amending. Because from 1962, bruv, it's a different century. Just saying that. My simple thoughts today. But anyway, that is what happened in this past couple of weeks. I could be able to tell you a lot more, but I know I keep depressing you. I even see the comments. Someone was like, yo, T, every time I watch your episodes, I just want to cry. Honey, I be crying every day. And here I am, still okay. We have how many more years to go? 7 or 5? We need to clarify. So is he staying for 5 or 7? Is Parliament staying for 5 or 7? Hit me up in the comment section and let me know. For all of you who get a chance to actually go through your constitution, just take a minute. You don't have to read the whole of it because it's big. They're just particular clauses, you know. Just go to chapter 4, clause 77, read that one. Go to chapter, chapter 4, chapter 7 actually. Chapter 7. Chapter 7 is where all the juice is. Just go to your Ugandan constitution, the amended version, and read the entire chapter 7. In regards to the terms and how long, just say it. But other than that, I don't think I have anything. Is there anyone in the social world we want to kwanidiza? Who? There's nothing going on apart from Vinka and her jetly moves, which I applaud, people, ladies. Who got a new woman? A new what? Who? Sheila and Rickman. Ibra, but governance of a country. We are talking about our sovereignty. We're talking about important things, legacies we are leaving for our children as citizens of this nation. Ebu, you bring. Why do you want to ruin the vibe now? I bet you if you ask that girl what her constitution says about her as a citizen, she don't know shit. But ask her what lipstick shade are you wearing. Ask her how are your edges laid. She'll come on now. Don't waste this dear viewers' time. Very good data. We have to give them things that make sense. What? So I hear another irrelevant person. Ibra just told me, Dax Cartel and his chick split, and they're calling each other out. Like we care. Take your local love there. You're local. Take it. All of us are local, but you're mutuleke. Someone was talking about the Bill Gates situation, and I told them I cannot financially speak on it because my finances and tax bracket won't. I'm like, fuck it. Bill Gates got tired. He got tired. He been banging on Melissa forever. On the side. He a rich man. What you expect? He got bored. Imagine the conversations they would have. Get down to sit down for dinner and he's like, also baby, Microsoft made $3 billion this day. And then Belinda turns, she's like, oh yeah. Sending contraception to Africa and killing them slowly is actually making us so much more money. Who cares? Okay, we have to care because there's a lot of money between the two of them, but how is that going to change my life? That's money I'm never going to touch or see or even experience. Not that I'm putting myself low, but duh, he's been the richest man forever. Like Jeff Bezos is rich. We know he's rich, that rich. But it's easier to say Bill Gates than to say Jeff Bezos. Like, his money old and strong. That's the type of money. Yeah, he was tired. He was bored. I mean, you can't just have... I feel like Bill Gates needs to get him like a Carisha or a Shaniqua. He needs to get like a black girlfriend, put some spice and flavor into his life, kick Jeff Bezos off that. He just needs, just let the man be, man. Can't be that rich and also be sexually deprived and unhappy. What is your problem? Money allows you to not have that. You can get happiness wherever. All they're divorcing. We all know that. Keep it moving. Who else did we miss? Who did we miss? Someone was telling me to talk about international stories. I would like to talk about international stories, but you see, I understood one thing. Every time we talk about an international story, we also have to put into consideration the fact that they have a different culture setting from ours. Like, how am I going to talk about what Portia did to her friend when I'm... How? In Uganda, well, if that happens, either your wife agenda kuku baby nyabyase. Oba jakuloga abana bona babalogeremu omusajja bamutte nga beeroga, and the conversation will go. I cannot begin speaking on it in Portia's version, where she is co-parenting with her baby father and introducing a new man who is still married but her fiancé. It's too complex for my culture. I ain't finna talk on that. Nah. But I can talk on a couple of things when I want to. Sometimes. Yeah. Anyway, that's been my wrap-up of these first 2 weeks. For all of you who thought there would be more gist than this, well, there are good days and bad days. I have to pace myself for my mental strength and mental capabilities and mental calmness. For that also, I can't come here every week because there's just way too much BS that this country throws our way. But in a few words, because I have used very few, would like to say, have a good one. This episode was proudly sponsored by Royal Treat Box. Hit them up on Instagram for any of your favorite muffins, favorite cupcakes, you name it. They got it. Royal Treat Box. Ibra, do you want to say something? Nothing. My goodness, the mood in this place today. Anyway, it's been my time. I'll catch you on the... Who? Oh, yeah. And as usual, we're shooting this episode at the beautiful Esela Gardens down in Nigeria. If you want a quaint, quiet place to show up to and, you know, just enjoy your time. They have beautiful, spacious gardens, beautiful accommodation, and good food too. Come through to Nigeria Esela Gardens. Someone asked me if I'm dating. What did I say last year? It was during Christmas. I said I wasn't sure. What do you think my response should be now? Am I dating? Bye. Deuces. See you. I'm out.